Welcome to One More Hour, the podcast all about backyard ultras, timed races, and the ultra running mindset of going one more. If you're an ultra runner, a trail or ultra runner curious about the format, or just someone who loves to test your limits, you're in the right place. I'm Jackie Wilson, an ultra marathon and marathon run coach, trail runner, outdoor enthusiast, and backyard ultra expert. On this show, I'll bring you stories, strategies, and conversations with runners, race directors, experts, and more to help you go further, dig deeper, and keep going when everything in you says stop. Thank you so much for joining me for some yards. Let's get started with one more. Welcome back to the One More Hour podcast. Today's guest is someone who embodies exactly what the backyard ultra format is all about. There's patience, there's grit, and really the relentless ability to stay in the game 1 yard at a time, even when you don't really consider, like, should I really be here right now? Do I want to be here right now? And really having that ability to continue on. So I am talking with Stephanie today. She just ran 27 yards at the Last Dance Backyard Ultra in November, which is absolutely incredible. She took the assist and she nearly doubled her last two attempts at a last man standing or backyard format. So it's so much fun, so fun to see and watch on Instagram. But I'm just really amazed by the kind of jump that you go from 30-ish, 38 yards to 67. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen on accident. It takes strategy. It takes emotional maturity and really learning about yourself and also getting that deep understanding of how to manage your body and your brain hour after hour. So whether you are training for your first backyard ultra or you want to learn more what takes to go to that next level, Stephanie's story is going to be packed with a lot of takeaways. So I'm so excited to welcome her to the show. Hi, Stephanie. How are you?
I am well. It's so good to be here.
Good. How are you recovering after, I guess it's been a couple weeks now?
Yeah. I mean, I think this was the first week where I was like, wow, I think I feel back to myself.
Good.
And I've been able to go out on some good runs and I don't feel like an emotional mess anymore.
Good. It is an interesting ride. Like when you, with that sleep deprivation, with just the exertion of that amount of time on feet, it's a weird feeling after the race. So how did you feel right afterwards? Like, was your top priority, like, I just want to sleep, like my legs ache? What were you thinking?
So my top priority, I literally got in my in-laws' vehicle because I was going back to their house in Austin, which was like an hour away from the race, and I forgot to stop my watch, and I literally like just passed out, like, and so it was really actually kind of funny because the last part of my race, because I was in the car, it showed that I was like averaging like a 6-minute mile. And so I was able to go back and like fix it. But anyways, yeah, so I literally, they took down like the tent and all my stuff. Well, I just like, it doesn't take anything for me to fall asleep when I'm that exhausted.
Yeah. So we need, but you know those memes where people say, like, if I pass out, if I die, like, please pause my watch?
Yeah.
I think we need to tell family members and crew, like, please make sure my watch is stopped when I'm done with my race.
Yeah. Because that was the last thing on my mind.
Yes.
Yes. So true.
Oh. Well, congratulations again on the assist and going 67 hours, 67 yards. It's absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
Before we dive into your backyard experience and your experience at the Last Dance, can you just give us a brief rundown of who you are? Are you married? Do you have kids? Where do you live? And what do you do for work?
Yeah. So I'm Stephanie Rosebaugh. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm an ultra runner. I'm a writer. I've done some speaking. We live here in Prescott, Arizona. I have 2 boys, and I've been married for 15 years. My boys are 14 and 11. And I just wrote my first book that the pre-launch is actually going to happen on Monday for my book, and it's called The Power of Enoughness.
Okay.
And so that's kind of who I am outside of being an ultra runner.
I love it. I do have a question because I was going to ask you at the end about your book, but I think this is just a good segue of, can you just give us a brief overview of your book and why you wanted to write it and maybe a little bit about what it's about?
Yeah. So, oh gosh.
Just go buy the book, right?
I'm still trying to learn how to say it in one sentence. So it doesn't go on and on forever. Mm-hmm. So basically The Power of Enoughness it's really a memoir style book. So it tells a lot about my own personal journey and story, but then it also incorporates research that's backed by other like professionals in the psychology realm. And honestly, it's the basis of it is remembering your worth beyond performance, productivity, improving, both in life and on the trail. And so it's really returning to who you were always meant to be, that we get lost in this world.
I love that. And it sounds like a book that I need to read because I've done EMDR and stuff, and I've talked a lot about performance-based perfectionism. So it sounds something very up my alley. So you said pre-launch.
Yeah, so it really was born out of this place of like through my own healing and my own growth. Mm-hmm. And then just being in the therapy room and hearing people's stories, it's like, we are not alone in this journey. And if I can help somebody else through telling my story and then giving insight to how they can kind of overcome some of those patterns, I'm all about it.
I love it. I love it. So when did you find running and ultra running?
Yeah, so my journey with running, it's interesting. I was a swimmer all growing up. So and that was kind of one of those things where like my oldest sister was a swimmer, and so it was just easy to put us in like the same sport. I didn't actually love swimming. And so I swam competitively until I was 16. And there was one year that I ran track and field in high school. Then I met the wrong people, the wrong crowd, and I quit anything healthy and picked up a lot of negative things. And then I didn't pick up running again until my 20s. But then it was just like, I'm doing it to be healthy and in shape. Mm-hmm. It was never like, I want to go run a marathon.
Yep.
And then I ran my first half marathon when I was in grad school. But that was even like, I'm just going to go do this thing because I think it sounds like fun. And it was a rock and roll marathon in San Antonio. And then that just kind of evolved of like, I wonder what it would be like to run a marathon. And my exact words after I ran my first marathon, I think I was like in my early 30s, was I said to my husband, I was like, don't ever let me do that again. That was awful. and he's like, okay. And the part that I didn't like about it was just like, it was all on pavement. And it was a fun marathon because it was a rock and roll marathon in Vegas. But it was just like not my thing. Mm-hmm. And then a few years after that, in 2022, my friend had registered to do the Antelope Canyon 55K. And he hadn't run since he was in 6th grade. And he was like, hey, I'm not training for this. I know that you're pretty fit. Do you want my registration? And I was like, sure, that sounds like fun. And that's how it all started.
That's awesome. I think just that introduction, and also living in Arizona, you have so many trails. So to be able to have that introduction to ultra running and then be like, okay, I'm guessing you had a good experience with it.
I had no idea what I was doing. And so I showed up and I like looked at everybody around me and I was like, yeah, I don't look like that. And I have all these clothes on, but I just went out and did it. and I had so much fun. And I think the best part was when I was like around mile 30, my husband and my kids had hidden these bushes in the desert. And they just like randomly popped out to be like, "Hey mom, how's it going?" And I was having so much fun, but at that moment, because I had never run that far before, I just became so emotional.
Yeah.
Because it was like, wow, my body's really doing this. And I've just gotten to see some really beautiful parts of the canyon that nobody's, you normally can't see. And so I was just feeling a lot of gratitude. And then when I finished, I was like, wow, I did really well. And I was like, that was a lot of fun. I wonder what this looks like to do more of these. But then life, I mean, being a mom of kids and working full time and trying to manage all of that was like, yeah, this doesn't really make sense for me right now. And then I had a friend that I paced at the Cocodona in 2023. And that's really when I like got the bug, and it hasn't gone away since.
So then you ran Cocodona in 2024, correct?
Correct.
And Bigfoot?
And Bigfoot.
Oh my gosh, yes. I love it.
So I did my 55K in 2022. I paced a friend in 2023. Then I did Black Canyon, the 100K. And that was the year that it snowed.
Okay.
And like there was like a delayed start and all the things, and it did not add up in my favor. But I learned so much being out there, which really prepared me to go out and do Cocodona.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess my question for you is from a mindset perspective, what prepared you to do two 200-mile races in the same year?
Well, the number one thing I go into any race that I do, it doesn't matter the distance, is I want to have fun. And that might sound absolutely insane, but if I'm not having fun, I shouldn't be out there. Because this is a total privilege to be able to do something like this.
Yep.
And so going into Cocodona, everybody on my crew, not experienced. I had one pacer that had any experience being out there and doing this. And she was so, so helpful. But everybody else was like brand new. Nobody knew what they were doing. It was fantastic. And I'll never be able to replicate that ever again. So it holds like such a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
But anyways, we just I told them, I don't want to know like my place ever. I don't want to know like anything about anybody else. Your job is to just keep me going, and to keep my mindset in a good place. And so that's kind of what we went out with. I was like, unless I break something, I'm not quitting. So that's don't even give any energy to that. Just keep focusing on me moving forward. And they did a fantastic job. Because there was definitely points where I was like, this totally sucks.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, like the thing I experienced during Cocodona was a love that I had never experienced before. From people, from God, from being out in nature. And it came to being, and I was able to like feel it in my heart for the first time ever in that sort of way. And so that's where it was like, wow, I have grown so much over the last 84 hours of my life. If I go do another one, am I going to grow again? Am I going to meet these really crazy, amazing people that are all out on the trail? And if so, sign me up for that, because it was incredible.
How did you... And I want to get into the backyards, but I want to ask this question. So with that experience with Cocodona and deciding, okay, how much more can I grow in Bigfoot, and what can I experience and who can I meet? How did you tame that expectation? Because, you experience something. It doesn't even have to be with running, but it's that first experience that's absolutely amazing. And you want to do it again, but you can't always replicate that. And then there's disappointment. So how did you tame that so that you weren't disappointed that, like, obviously it's not going to be the same experience?
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's a really great question in the sense of, even if you go back and you do the same race again, it'll never be the same.
Yep.
And so I think it's this place of, in my mind, I look at every race that there's going to be gifts along the trail. And those gifts along the trail, sometimes I'm going to be really eager to open them. And other times I'm going to want to give them back. And that it's not that I'm trying to seek after the same gift I was given in the last trail or the last race, but I'm open and I want it to be new, but I'm also like not trying to conjure up or expect what it's going to be. I'm just showing up knowing that it's a process.
Yeah.
And so much of my life was always focused on like the outcome, the time, the place, all the things that we place on the finish line. But my favorite part of whether it's a 200-mile race or a backyard race is the process that happens between the start and the finish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I absolutely love that. So you run Cocodona, you run Bigfoot. What makes you decide to run a backyard at the end of 2024 or a last man standing format?
Yeah, it was more just like, wow, this sounds like fun. It sounds like a different kind of fun, but I want to try it out. I want to see what it's like. And everybody was like, aren't you so afraid of getting bored? And I was like, no, boredom doesn't ever like, I was like, yeah, I guess if you go in the same circle over and over, like maybe that could be boring, but where my mind goes is not boring. And I have control over that. So I had so much fun in that first format that I did that way.
Were there any challenges that you were met with that you were surprised about?
At ATY?
Yep.
Yes. That was the first time I had ever thrown up during an ultra.
Okay.
And I threw up for 9 hours straight.
Oh my gosh.
And I just kept going because I thought I was just going to be able to like stop that process at some point.
Yep.
But my body gave out before I was able to stop that process.
Mentally, were you okay with that? That like, this is something that I can't control and I need to be done? Or was it a little mentally defeating that it wasn't something that you could control and that was taking you out?
Yeah, I don't know that I was mentally defeated. It was more like, wow, this was my first go at this. Mm-hmm. There's no standard that I'm trying to meet because I've never done it before. So anything that I do out here is a PR. And I think when my body, like it just wasn't, my head was still good. My mindset was still good. It was like my body wouldn't move. Mm-hmm. There was no going any further. And so I timed out. And, it was okay. Like I was pretty like, I was dehydrated. I was not feeling well. And so I think it was more like acceptance of, okay, I got to see and push to see what my body can do. And this is the end.
Mm-hmm. So did you immediately jump to, I need to do another?
Oh, no. Okay. I think I very much said on the way home as I was still throwing up, I was like, don't ever let me do that again. That was so, like, the end of that was terrible. And I think something that my family has learned is, like, give no attention to any of, like, those comments.
Yeah. Because
after you've slept and you're recovered and you're holding food down again, you're like, I think I want to try that. Just one more time.
So then your next experience with the Last Man Standing format was Babbitt's Backyard Ultra, correct?
Yes.
And how was that experience for you? What did you, from across the years to Babbitt's, training wise, what did you say? Like, I need to figure out nutrition. I need to figure out XYZ before going into Babbitt's.
Yeah, my number one thing I needed to figure out was nutrition first, so that I didn't have that same sort of throw up cycle. Mm-hmm. And that was probably the main focus going into that. The coach that I work with had me replicate kind of the backyard style, where I was going out and I was running the 4.16 miles and then stopping until the top of the hour before I was to go again. Yeah. And we did that several weekends in a row to play with nutrition, to play with the format of stopping and going. Mm-hmm. And it went really well. I went into that knowing like I really am excited about the possibility of this silver ticket, and it's a pretty local race for me, meaning that it's not far away from home, so it was easy to get there. And yeah, it was a blast.
Was there anything that surprised you in terms of, I don't know, having practiced your nutrition with those stimulations on the weekends, either good or bad, where like, wow, this is really working for me, or I didn't anticipate this 12 hours in, since I haven't been running or I didn't do 12 hours for stimulation?
As far as nutrition goes, there was nothing that like surprised me. I think I go into these trying to be really organized, meaning like I come in with my spreadsheet of like, here's what I'm going to eat. So I don't have to think about it as it gets deeper into the race.
Yep.
It's more like, okay, we're on, yard 20. This is what you're eating. Mm-hmm. However, I think I always go into it with that plan. And then when you get to yard 20, you're like, I don't want to eat that. Yep. And so you just eat whatever. But I think the idea of like not like forcing yourself to eat even when I didn't want to eat, that was something from ATY to Babbitt's that I definitely was like, I don't have a choice. It just needs to go in. If I want to do well at this, it just needs to go in. Mm-hmm.
Did you have a crew for both of these races?
So at ATY, my husband was there and one of my friends was there. Yep. And my sister popped in and out. Then at Babbitt's, I started without a crew. And because I told my husband, like, I don't really need you until like 24 hours in. If you show up, that's when I need you. And I would rather you be fresh than come, like, stay with me the whole time. Mm-hmm. And so he showed up at, I think, like 4 or 5 p.m. during that first day and was with me till the end.
Okay. Yeah. What role or how important is that role to you?
I look at it as helpful in the sense of later on in the race, it's this place of like they can care for you, and they can help, like stretch you out, rub your feet, help you move a little faster than you probably would want to. But I never go into these like depending on it. Mm-hmm. I'm hopeful that there'll be people that will show up and help me. At the same time, it's a huge job. Yep. Especially when you're like, I don't know how long I'm going to be out here for. There's like no end in sight. Yeah. And so I think that's also harder for me to ask for. Like, hey, do you want to just come hang out for as many days as I need you? Like, that doesn't fit a lot of people's lifestyle.
Right.
And so, having my husband there and, making sure I was eating and putting my legs up and stretching me out, it was helpful. And, I think at the end, what ended up happening was, for the last 4 yards that I had gone out, I was like peeing myself without knowing I was peeing myself. I didn't feel like I had to pee. Mm-hmm. And my heart rate was doing really funny things. It was like not coming down. Okay. And so I was like, I don't know. I don't want people to be disappointed in me. And that was something that I had to work on in that moment. Like, just going back to that mindset of, like, I was more worried about people being disappointed in me for quitting because I was listening to my body than just pushing through. Mm-hmm. And so I had talked to the people I was most concerned with being disappointed in me. And they were like, oh my gosh, no, we're so proud of you.
Yeah.
And please don't do this for us. Like, if your body's telling you something, you need to listen.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And it's something that your mind does go to. Like, these people love me. They are crewing for me, or they're back at home and they're getting updates on how I'm doing. And you, like, your brain goes to, I don't want to let them down. And they want the best for you, and they don't want anything bad to happen. So they're automatically, their go-to is like, no, like, you're doing amazing, and whatever you do is absolutely incredible. So don't have those thoughts. But that's what our brain thinks of when we're running hour after hour after hour.
Yes.
How do you think your experience with Cocodona and Bigfoot has helped you with the backyard format?
One of the biggest takeaways from those races is that there are going to be ebbs and flows of the whole process. Like, there are going to be moments where you are on top of the world, and then moments where you're like, I hate this. I don't know why I showed up at this race. Like, and you're just kind of facing those inner demons. And just knowing if you just stick with it a little bit longer, it's going to change again is probably the biggest takeaway. Like, so don't let that one bad moment dictate very, very much of what you're doing, because it's going to shift again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Have you, I think one of the biggest differences between a point-to-point race and the backyard format is you have limited time to problem solve, right? Like, you have that hour to run your loop and then do whatever you need to do and then start again. So you have to be very good at figuring out what is the number one priority right now. So did you have any close turnarounds in Babbitt's where you're like, gosh, I have 2 minutes left and I really need to figure these things out so that I can get back out there?
I think here's how I usually handle those sorts of things. I don't remember any of them really being close. I typically, the way I have chosen to run these backyards is to give myself about 10 minutes. So coming in at, between 47 and 50 minutes so that I have time to go to the bathroom, eat, that sort of thing if I need to change. And I think if anything, if I come in from a yard and I do have a crew, I will tell them, hey, the next time I come in, this is the first thing we need to do so that we're like ready to make that transition.
Yep.
How that kind of differs from like a 200 miler is like, usually if I have a pacer on the 200 miler, they'll text the crew and say, hey, when she comes in, she needs, and they'll have that ready for me. Mm-hmm. But in this format, it's more like, hey, next time I come around, it also gives me something to look forward to.
Yeah. Yeah. I got in the habit. So my husband has crewed me for 2 of my backyards. And the first time he crewed me was that experience where, like, next time I want this, or next time I need to change my socks. And he got pushed back right away because I'd come back and I would say, like, oh no, I actually don't want that to eat. I want this. Or no, my feet are fine. I don't need to change my socks. So my question for you is, does your crew push back on that and say, no, this is what you told me, this is what you need to do? Or do they kind of feel out how you're actually feeling to decide if it's important or not?
Usually when I say something, it's going to happen and I just follow through. I don't know that I had any of those situations where I'm like, I don't think I want that anymore. It was more like, I don't know if I have time. One of the sort of towards the end of, it was like I wanted to change, but I was like, I don't know. I don't want to feel rushed.
Yep.
And so I was like, let's save it and just do it first thing versus whatever else I was doing before that. So I think if anything, it's more like I'll change my mind because I'm more concerned about the time.
Mm-hmm. So you run Babbitt's, did you make it 38 yards?
I'm still learning the language of all of this. Okay. Yes, I think that's accurate.
Okay. It was like 158-ish miles.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. So you go from running across the years to Babbitt's to the Last Dance Backyard Ultra, which was just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
What was your... I don't want to ask the goal because I feel like the goal for a backyard is, for a lot of people, to be the last runner standing. Mm-hmm. But going from Babbitt's to the Last Dance, what was one of your main goals of things of like, I need to do this in order to go as far as possible?
The number one goal that was in my mind was that I wanted to love myself every single step that I could take. I didn't want to have an outcome goal because those can be really disappointing.
Yeah.
Obviously, I wanted a silver ticket. I really have a dream of going to Bigs. And so, yes, if there was an outcome goal, that's what it would be. But my process goal was to, like, I'm going to love myself. I'm not going to look anybody up. I'm not going to do the comparison game. I'm just going to show up. I'm going to have fun. And I'm going to get to know people. And we'll see what happens.
Yeah. You mentioned, I think it was for Cocodona, you didn't want to know what anyone else was doing or what place you were in or anything. Does that go the same for the backyards? You don't want your crew to be telling you like, oh, they're looking really good or they're not looking so good.
Yeah, because that's all a mind game. I mean, at the end of the day, somebody can look good but be falling apart on the inside. Yeah. So I think it's also just like, I want it to be about me showing up as the best version of me. And I want other people to do well and meet their goals too. But at the end of the day, I'm showing up for me and nobody else.
Yep. So getting to the race in your training, was it primarily therapy? Was it showing up for yourself every day and really reflecting on what you're doing for yourself? Or what were some of the things that you did to show up with the primary goal of, I want to love myself every step of the way?
So I had been working with my coach about my mindset because another part of where I've struggled in the past is at nighttime. And just when that sun goes down, there's something that happens within my body. But I had told myself that for so long that obviously that switch gets flipped. As soon as the sun goes down, it's going to get dark and ugly, right?
Yep.
And so he was like, stop saying that to yourself. And instead of saying it that way, flip it and be like, this is where I'm going to thrive. This is where you're going to come alive. And I know that sounds so simple, but really in reality, that's what it was. It was like, okay, so it's nighttime. It's just another form of, like the sun went down. That's really all that happened. And so being able to shift that perspective. And then the same week of the race, I was asked to volunteer to be a test subject in this therapy model I'm trained in. So I was the client in front of a class. And I actually used this race in that like mock therapy session. And the one thing he had me envision was myself as an infant in a crib. And he said, if you were that infant in that crib, would you, like, the way you're talking to yourself about this is like, the only way you'll be lovable is if you're the last person standing. And like, I'm telling this little infant in this crib these things. The only way you'll be good enough is if you, and fill in the blank. And so that transformed also how I went into this race. Because I was like, I'm not going to talk to myself that way.
Right.
And having that little gift of having that therapy session definitely played out in the race.
Yeah, for sure. Was there any point in time at the race where you had to remind yourself of that instead of going back to your thought process before that therapy session?
Yeah, I mean, it was that. So I always go into races with like little mantras that I'm going to remind myself constantly of, or when it starts to get real hard, have somebody who loves me and cares about me remind me of those things. And so, yes, I was definitely, I look at these sort of backyards as like a meditative state, because you're doing the same thing. You're not going to get lost. That's what I love about them. And I think the other piece is like, I can just be so deep in my head and go to places where usually I can't go.
Mm-hmm. So do you thrive on that aspect of it's just me and my thoughts? Or are there times where you're like, I don't want my thoughts right now, and I would rather listen to music or a podcast to at least get through this hour before I can reset again?
Yeah, absolutely. I use all of those tools, whether it's, I want to just be out and use my five senses to be present, or if I need a little distraction with a podcast or music.
Yeah. So you had 2 full nights of running at your last backyard, is that correct? At the last dance?
So we started on Saturday and I ended on Tuesday morning at 3:30 in the morning.
Okay, so you're going into your third.
It was like almost a full third night.
Okay. So from one night to, like, obviously the first night you're fresher. You have less running under your belt. Mental capacity is greater. You have also less sleep deprivation in that first night. How did night to night to night change for you, if any?
I mean, it was harder if I laid down and put my feet up. It was harder to get up. Just because everything was starting to get a little stiff.
Yeah.
But I think, my mindset was really solid. And that was completely from the preparation that I went into it with.
Yeah. Were there any low points where you thought about, like, gosh, I don't know if I'm having fun right now. I don't know if I should continue, or where you had to actually work out of that thought process to continue, or did you not reach into that?
It rained, and I don't remember which day it was. I think it was maybe Monday. It just it rained and everything was wet and cold and muddy, and I don't like being cold. I don't really like being wet, and there was no way to dodge any of the puddles, and it was like your feet were slipping. And so at one point I just started to cry my eyes out. It wasn't that I was going to quit. It was more like, this sucks and I don't know when it's going to end, like the rain.
Yep.
And so then I just call my people and have them just let me cry first, because once you get it out, you feel better. And then just have them talk me into a more stable place.
I think crying is so powerful in a race. Like, just get it out of you and move on. And I don't know, there's just something about that release of the built up emotion that I tell my husband now, it's like, if I'm at this low point, I just need to cry and then I'll be fine. Like, that's all I need.
Yeah.
Were you sleeping at all in between?
I mean, I don't know if you consider closing your eyes for 2 minutes, 3 minutes sleeping. I rested that way, and that was another thing that I did with my crew. Hey, next time I come in, don't even talk to me. Just let me lay down and close my eyes. And so we just made plans for that sort of I just needed to be quiet more than anything. And that was really all the rest that I got.
Are there any commonalities in each of your race experiences with the Last Man Standing format that keeps you coming back to the format?
I love it because you're like all together and you can really get to know other people while you're out there.
Yeah.
And I think I already said this, but I'm going to say it again. I don't get lost because you're just doing the same loop again. And I think with doing a 200 plus, like, you rely so much on your watch. Mm-hmm. And usually there's zero service in the places they take you out there.
Yeah.
And when you're tired like that, missing a turn, man, like, it can send you in your own, like, spiral. But so that's really what I love about it is I'm not going to get lost. I can get super comfortable. It becomes really meditative and I'm just in it.
Mm-hmm. So how would you describe that backyard community feeling to someone who hasn't ran one before?
Yeah. Gosh, trail runners are the best. Like, they really are. Whether you're in a backyard format or in a 200-mile race, even a 100-mile race, like, there's just something about our, like, the commonality of going out and doing something hard that just connects you in this, like, vulnerable way. Because the one thing I'm not very good at is doing super, like, official conversation. If we're gonna be friends, if we're gonna do anything, we're gonna probably go deep, probably pretty fast, because that's what I'm interested in. And so I think that's, like, if everybody's out there for their own reason and why they chose to do this race, and at the end of the day, it's like, yes, you're competing against each other, but you're also, like, there to help one another out.
Yeah.
And I think it's just so beautiful when you can be competitive, yet be friends with the person you're competing with.
Exactly. And run with them for hours or days.
Yes. Yes.
And pace doesn't matter. Like, obviously it matters a little bit, but you have to finish within that hour, but you're not trying to run it as fast as possible. So you can just continue to run with those people time after time, which I think is just a beautiful thing.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about the course? And was it all trail? Were there any hills? What was it like?
Okay, so you left the corral and you had to go, like, down this little ditch. Mm-hmm. And it's a cross country, like a high school cross country course. So most of it was, like, grass and, like, through a little wooded area. Some of it was exposed. And that was the daytime loop. And so the daytime and the nighttime loop you had to do twice to be the 4.16 miles. But it was, during the day, it was all that grassy dirt stuff. And at nighttime, it was on the sidewalk and road. For the loops. The really cool thing about this one was, do you remember those slap bracelets from, like, the 80s? Maybe it was the 90s. Okay. Well, every time you did one loop, you got to put this slap bracelet on with your name on it to, like, signify that you had already done one and you just needed to do another to complete it. And then you got to give, like, when you went through the corral, when you were finished, you gave them the slap bracelet back.
Oh, that is
fun.
And so
it was like, it was so cool. It was like, I haven't had a slap bracelet forever.
Yeah.
But got you something, like, to look forward to.
Yeah. No, I think those unique aspects of the races are always fun to see and hear about, and then also experience for when you are doing those races.
Yes.
Pacing wise, I know some people, when they run a backyard, they run and they walk in the same exact spots along the course. And some people kind of switch it up based on how they're feeling or if it's hillier or not as hilly. What's your approach to pacing?
Yeah, so usually the first 50-ish miles, I'm just like trying to figure it out, right? Like, where do I want to walk? Where do I want to run? And usually I'm just like trying to like get to know people and not paying attention to really pace.
Yep.
And then I just listen to, like, after that 50 miles, like, listen to my body. What feels good here? And I think it's like just going with it. So there were definitely people who had that strategy of like, I'm going to walk in these places, and I don't. More or less like I'm going to listen to what my body's telling me. So really there wasn't a ton of elevation in this course. Obviously, as your legs get tired, those like 1% grades really feel like a big hill. Yeah. But it's just like listening does this feel right? Do I want to walk here? And that's how I base it on.
So switching just a little bit, I want to talk a little bit about the big jump from 38 yards to 67 yards, because I think that is just absolutely incredible. And, you do see that big jump with other people, but a lot of times you see kind of the stair stepping of we're going to do 12, then we're going to do 18, 24, and they just keep chipping away at how far they can actually go. So how did you make such a large jump? Like, what do you think helped you go so much further this time than your last attempt?
I told myself I was going to be out there for 300 miles. And so I went into it knowing I wasn't going to be done until Tuesday morning sometime. And that was like a guesstimation. Obviously, I had no idea. And so that's how, like, yes, it could go longer than that. It could be shorter than that. But I just had this, like, I'm going to pick a random large number and see what happens.
Do you think you would have been okay if you guys hit 300 miles and there were still 5 or 6 of you in the game?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe, probably. Like, I think it was just like shifting that gear. Because at one point I had said like, okay, maybe this is going to go way past 300 miles. And I have everything I need to keep going. And it's really just going to be about what signals my body's showing me at that point.
So how are you feeling in those last couple yards, and what ultimately took you out of the race? Did you leave time on the clock, or did you run the clock out?
So I think like I said earlier, you get to know people really well while you're out there. They become your friends. And when it was down to just Mark and I said to him on our first loop out together, I was like, I got to be really honest with you. Connections way more important to me. Friendships are way more important to me than any buckle, any medal, any coin. And so I'm telling you that right now. Like, that's something that I lead my life with. And he was like, well, I got to be honest. I like to have friends, but I really want that silver coin. And I was like, fair. And so we had banter back and forth, and just hearing his heart and like what his hopes and his dreams are with being at this backyard and, his previous experience with them. I went out on that last like incomplete loop, and I was just like praying and having so much gratitude overcome me. And as I was praying, I just said like, gosh, I am so blessed. I have so much, not to like be prideful, but I have so much positive, good stuff going on in my life. Yes, having that silver coin, making it the USA backyard team, total bucket list item for me. But I was like, this kid, he's 28. Like, if I was given this at 28, where would my life have gone? And so I was just praying, and I just said to God, like, if this is not meant for me, make it very clear. And I've only heard God audibly a few times in my life, and it was very clear. He was like, turn around. And I was like, okay. Like, I asked for it. I got my answer. I turned around and I went back, and they were like, what's wrong? And I was like, actually nothing. Because I think the other part was like, I could have, like, my body, yes, it was not moving as well as the beginning, but that's because I'm a human being. And it was just more like, I want to watch this experience. And so I got to meet his wife. I got to watch the end of it. And that part, if I talk too much about it, will make me cry. Because, like, it's better than any stinking silver coin that I could ever walk away with. Mm-hmm. Was watching him and his wife, like, embrace, and the joy that it brought them, like, brings me so much joy even just remembering it. Yeah. Yeah. It's a different type of win for you, just being able to experience that. So besides being able to experience that at the finish. Yeah. And really loving yourself every step of the way, because you didn't quit because you weren't loving yourself. Mm-hmm. What did you get out of this race experience? Oh. Well, there's just so much. Like, when you ask me that question, I'm like, I don't know where to go with that. I think there's a piece of me that, like, one, I went into this race not knowing if I was even going to have a crew. And my in-laws, they've never been to any sort of ultra in their life, and they just stepped up in a huge way. And they, so I think that sort of love that comes out of other people, mm-hmm. To help you out and help you move forward when it's really tough is just such a beautiful, beautiful gift. And I think the other piece is, like, gosh, I got to meet so many cool people, and most of them, I think what was different about this backyard than other ones or other races that I've been in, everybody was so young. Like, I felt like everybody was in their 20s, and I was like, I could be your grandma. That's how it felt. I was like, wait, you're still in college? So I think that part was also, like, fun from my perspective of, like, just being, like, not that I'm old, but, like, a little bit older than them, and hearing their stories. That was different than any backyard that I'd done before. Yeah, that's really neat. How has the result of going 67 yards really changed your outlook on what is possible for you? Not saying like you didn't believe that it was possible. You want that silver coin, but how is this experience really fueling you to the next attempt to go for that silver coin? Yeah, I think about 24 hours after the race, I was on Ultra Sign Up looking for the next silver coin race. Not gonna lie, like, because I was like, how is this gonna fit around Cocodona? Because I'm doing Cocodona this year again, and I'm like, I gotta find one that's gonna fit so that I can be on that USA team that I really want a place on. And so, I don't remember what your question is. I'm really sorry. Just how is this experience fueling the next attempt? I think it was like, whoa, I didn't know that was possible. Mm-hmm. And if I would have kept going, because I think that's the other thing that 24 hours after, I was like, I could have totally kept going. Yeah. If it wasn't for the divine intervention telling me to turn around, like, I don't know how long we would have gone for. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's the place of, like, wow, I wonder how far my body is really capable of going. And I kind of want to see sometime. Like, can I go past that? Yeah.
it's a neat feeling to sit with, of just questioning and pondering, like, how far can I actually go the next time. I think that's really neat.
And it's like a curiosity, not like I want to put so much pressure on myself to like perform, but more of like our bodies are really incredible and amazing of what they can do when they're fueled properly, when they have enough rest. Like and when our mindset doesn't get in the way of us keep continuing to go. And so I think I just have a curiosity of like, what is that limit?
Yep. So the last two questions that I've been asking anyone that has ran a backyard, the first one is, what advice do you have for runners who are hesitant to try a backyard ultra?
Well, one, I would be curious, like, what are you afraid of? Like, because just going out there and showing up, and maybe I think there's some people that show up at these backyards that their goal is to run their first 100-miler or their first 50. And they're not trying to be the last person standing. They're just trying to go PR in something. There was one guy I met out there that he's like, well, I was supposed to do this other race that got canceled in California. So I thought it would be more fun to run with other people than do this training run by myself. And that's why he was there. And that sort of experience is like, wow, I want to meet those people because those people also helped me learn things about myself. And so to just go out and try to have a really open mindset. I think the biggest thing about being an ultra runner is you have to learn how to be flexible, because it's not going to ever go the way you plan. And the more flexible and like strategic and like conflict resolution oriented you can be going into it, you're going to thrive if you just go in with that sort of openness.
Yeah, that's very well said and very well put. I think ultra running is just, it's a big puzzle, right? You're constantly problem solving, and you're constantly pivoting and shifting gears, because you never know what's going to come your way and what's going to work and what's not going to work. So you just have this big bucket of puzzle pieces, and you got to figure out what's going to fit this time.
Yeah.
And my second question is, if you could fuel with only one source for the duration of your backyard, and this can be completely realistic, or this could be completely ridiculous, what would you fuel with?
So while we were out there running, I just have to tell you this, we were like asking each other ridiculous questions. Like, okay, you only can pick one meal for the rest of your life. What are you going to eat? And it's like tacos all day long. Or like nachos, right? Because you can make them like 1,000 different ways.
Yes.
But for real talk, you know, if it was the one fuel source that I've had so much good luck with is the Precision Hydration, like 60 carb mix, and those little chews that they have.
Yeah.
Those are like my go-tos, because my stomach can handle both of those really, really well. I would never choose to eat that for the rest of my life, though.
No. Oh, you need some other flavor in there, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, Stephanie, thank you so much for sharing your story, for sharing this journey, not just about the 67 yards, but the journey getting there and the lessons learned along the way. I think there's like a ton of great takeaways that our listeners can kind of think about themselves and say like, hey, could I do this? Or is this something I need to consider doing that I haven't considered thinking about before? And I think just your progression is such a powerful reminder that backyard ultras are really earned through patience and curiosity, and not that perfection or like that outcome goal. And really every loop is teaching you something. And when athletes lean into that curiosity side of it, instead of fighting, like this is how it's supposed to go, that's when breakthroughs happen. And that's when you can make those like really big jumps in the backyard ultra, or even just ultras in general. So thank you again so much for being on the show. I just continue to send praise your way, and I'm just excited to continue to watch your journey and watch you run Cocodona next year and see what you do in the backyard. I really want you to get that silver coin. I think that would be so much fun. Represent the women, and just like good luck with all of your training, and thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for tuning in to One More Hour. If you enjoyed this episode, hit follow so you don't miss the next yard, and share it with a runner who loves pushing their limits. I'd love to hear your own stories of going one more. Connect with me on Instagram at the One More Hour Podcast. And if you could leave a quick review, it'll help more runners find the show and keep going when they want to stop. Until next time, just go one more hour.